Welcome back to Yang Daily. First off, a quick reminder that with the Yang Gang's over 200,000 active members, we could save over 600,000 hours per day for phone banking if they were all listeners. Every minute counts. This is why I started the podcast, but I need your help spreading it. The faster, the better. Apologies for being late today. Lots of news. Let's get to it. Humanity for Yang is asking that Indiana Yang Gang gather signatures as fast as possible because right now no Democratic candidate is on the ballot. Yang could be the first. Check yang2020.com/events and find the one nearest you. On to the volunteer leaderboards. In phone banking calls, Michael C. has shot ahead of Tommy R. with 859 calls. In phone banking minutes, Tommy R. is still in the lead with 532. In text sent, John W. is still in the lead at 50,000, but the competition is closing in now with Shelly G. just 7K behind. In text conversations, Aaron H. still leads with 416. In event participation, it's still Thomas W., now with 8. In events hosted, still Charlotte C. with 15. In doors knocked on, Michael Z. reigns supreme with 736 doors. And in canvassing conversations, also Michael Z. with 116 conversations. Our phone banking shout out today goes to Cyrus Namani and crew, who tweeted today that they added 600 new calls to New Hampshire. Good work, guys. If you want to get a shout out on the podcast, tweet your volunteering efforts at Yang Daily Cast on Twitter. We're going to have to skip the events reading again today as we're overloaded. As always, check your local events daily at yang2020.com/events. We have an absolute rash of polls today. A CNN UNH New Hampshire poll, which had Yang at 5%, an NBC News Marist poll, New Hampshire poll, also pacing Yang at 5%, a Fox poll, again placing Yang at 5%, and a national ABC Washington Post poll last night that had Yang at 7%. Combined with the 8% Emerson poll from a couple days ago, it appears Yang is rising rapidly among the polling demographic nationally. This also means Yang has now overqualified for the next debate on September 7th. Turns out, if new polls actually get conducted between the debates, they measure Yang's rising support and qualify him. Who could have guessed? Do note that Yang came in above Steyer and Klobuchar nationally, despite him being excluded from the debate, and they not. As Carolyn McCarthy so eloquently commemorated the event, quote, "When you push Andrew Yang off a stage, he crowd surfs," end quote. Both New Hampshire polls largely agreed, with Bernie between 22 and 25, Pete between 15 and 17, Biden between 15 and 16, Warren between 12 and 13, Klobuchar with a wide range, and Gabbard between 5 and 6. The national poll had Biden at 28, Bernie at 24, Warren at 11, Bloomberg 8, Pete 5, and Klobuchar 3. The ABC Washington Post national poll had a sample size of 1,004 and margin of error of 3.5%. The NBC News Marist poll had a relatively large sample of 2,223 voters and a margin of 2.6%. The Fox poll sampled 1,005, just had to have one more than ABC, with a margin of 3%. The CNN UNH poll had a sample of 697 Democrats and margin of 4.5%. The CNN UNH poll also found that only 31% of New Hampshire residents say they are firm in their choice of candidate, and that 49% of New Hampshire voters consider beating Trump to be the biggest issue. This was up to 79% in the Fox national poll. This speaks to just how well the media has done at suppressing Yang's clear advantage in electability, at least among the polling demographic. Politico shot out a quick article about Yang making the next debate. Crystal of the Hill also tweeted about Yang hitting 7%, saying she wonders how much better he could do if the media gave him even half as much attention as Pete. Iowa Starting Line tweeted a clip of Evelyn's speech at an event in Bettendorf, where she explains that UBI is the most effective way to eliminate poverty and challenges the audience to consider why we, as a country, have become so accepting of poverty and homelessness when clearly we have the means to fix it. It's a very good question, and I think it's far past time that we stop dancing around the issue and solve it directly. Behind 2020 tweeted an amusing Q&A today asking candidates who their celebrity crush is. The results? Klobuchar said Prince, Warren, The Rock, Bloomberg, Laura Dern and William Macy, Steyer, Alicia Keys, Pete, gave no answer. And Yang? He chose his wife. Fair enough, she is a celebrity now. Raw Stories' Bob Brigham put out a very brief article today basically just highlighting Yang's response to why Trump hasn't attacked him. That quote being, "Donald Trump hasn't messed with me online because he knows I'm actually better at the internet than he is." Yang had a short segment on Fox News Sunday covering his chances in the race and the shallow attacks from AOC and some of the other so-called progressives against UBI. No new information, and the interviewer was a bit hostile, but it's good to see that Yang is still not afraid to go on Fox, as all the other Democrats are. When you're in the right, there's no need to fear being challenged. The campaign released yet another in a long series of clips of crowds at Yang's Iowa town halls giving standing ovations. He'll soon be reaching rock star status there. I also have to include this quote from a town hall in Panora, where an attendee said, quote, "You seem like a real person. I'm excited to actually like someone in the race." End quote. Business Insider's Anthony Fisher wrote a fantastic article on Alasa and Russell Peterson. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Alasa. Authors of the Grassroots Yang Gang YouTube channel. It's pretty much all gold, so I'm going to read most of it. They're lifelong conservatives from North Carolina. They voted for Trump in 2016, but never voted in a presidential primary. Now, they're hardcore Andrew Yang fans, and have uprooted their lives to support his 2020 presidential campaign. They discovered Yang in Joe Rogan's podcast and were immediately drawn to Yang's humanity first and not left, not right forward messaging. Most of us don't want to fight each other. Most of us don't want to blame each other for all of our problems, Russell told Insider. Before long, they had quit their jobs and hit the campaign trail with their 4-year-old son. While on the road, they launched the Grassroots Yang Gang YouTube channel, where they live stream nearly every Yang event and provide regular commentary throughout the day to more than 10,000 subscribers. While they've switched their party registration to Democratic, Russell insisted their only choice is Yang. "We're not voting blue no matter who. We're Yangocrats," Russell said. He adds that in his view, the Democratic National Convention will help re-elect Trump if it continues to impose debate thresholds that keep candidates like Yang off stage in favor of what he calls establishment candidates. Russell says that Yang's freedom dividend would help eliminate the number one reason that women say they have abortions, which is a lack of finances. "As a conservative, that's something I can get behind," Russell said. He then added, "Yang's capitalism that doesn't start at zero messaging intrigues him." Andrew Yang says, "Let the robots have the damn job and let's create a better future for everybody," he said, adding, "Trump likes to tout how great the economy is, and he's talking about how we've got so many jobs. Yeah, that's because people are working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. We shouldn't have to be doing that. That's crazy to me. So as GDP keeps going up, the broke folk just keep getting more broke. Just like depression, suicides, drug overdoses are on the rise, and the fact that life expectancy has declined for 3 years in a row," Alasa added. "That's crazy." The author says Yang's gang includes a lot of right-of-center voters who are fed up with class warfare. Most of Yang's policies are solidly progressive, but as he told Insider, "I believe I'm the best candidate to take on and defeat Donald Trump in the general, in part because I'm drawing hundreds of thousands of disaffected Trump voters, independents, and libertarians, as well as Democrats and progressives. The numbers back up Yang's claims," says the author. According to 3 Insider polls of voters who hadn't decided whether they're voting Republican or Democrat, 46% said they would be satisfied with Yang as the nominee, the highest level of support among any Democratic candidate. Ari Goldschneider, 36, is a self-described non-ideological registered Democrat from Massachusetts. He works in finance, owns property, and says he's financially comfortable. He's sympathetic to the struggle of many working-class families and sees UBI as a way to take the economic boot off their throats. Goldschneider told Insider after a Yang town hall in Hudson, New Hampshire, that he's turned off by what he calls a class warfare narrative, which he says is most represented by the campaigns of Sanders and Warren. "Billionaires are not evil. That's not a productive message," he said. "It's not good that we demonize people that voted for Trump as racist. The Democratic Party loves to demonize people who support Trump, and it's the same with the Republicans," Russell Peterson said. Yang doesn't do that. He talks about incentives and causes, not good or evil. The fact is most of us are in the middle, and when a candidate like Andrew Yang comes along, and he's that guy that can bring everybody together and still be progressive, that's a winning message. I pretty much agree with everything that was said in this article. So moving on. Today's daily Yang policy is climate change. Now, I can't even begin to cover Yang's climate change policy because it's literally 50 pages long. We might dig into parts of it later, but for now, I really just want to make sure everyone's aware of how comprehensive it is, as it's given very little attention. A few highlights that set it apart from others are that he gives a lot of attention to preparing our infrastructure for inevitable effects of climate change, providing funding for people to move out of flood zones, includes nuclear in his energy plan, specifically thorium, which is much more abundant, degradable, and efficient than uranium and cannot be used for weapons. And his plan focuses on exporting green energy to other countries because we are only 7% of the world's emissions. So we need to take a larger view and help other countries as well. Today's Yang Daily 10 task actually hasn't been released yet, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it's phone banking. Keep in mind that all you have to do when phone banking is ask a couple simple questions to collect data. Quick, simple, and easy. And if you're one of many international Yang Gang, you can still phone bank. Let's help our canvassers win this thing, Yang Gang. And that's our Yang News for today. Get on those Indiana signatures, check your local events, tell the world that Yang is rising, shoot me a tweet of your volunteering efforts, and get your name on those volunteer leaderboards. As always, please share this podcast so we can save people as much time as possible for volunteering. And don't forget to Yang Daily.